Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Patreon question and answer. So today we're going to do some questions and answers. These are all questions off of the Patreon group. So of course, like always, we're answering general law of attraction questions. We do this every single week in the Patreon group. So definitely come join us. I'll actually put the link in the description. So if anybody wants to join the group to ask your law of attraction questions, then definitely join us. Okay. Um, so the first question is Nicole's, and let's take a look here. So we're answering that at 40 seconds in. Let's take a look here at what her question is. So, hey Amanda, can intentions be blocked by the meaning you give things that show up in your reality? Absolutely. 100%, because you create with your assumptions. Any thought that you have is actually an intention. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to say, for instance, let's say you don't get you put the example, if you don't get a response from to a text message, and you make it mean that the person's insecure and needs time to figure out how you respond, you just basically intended that they're insecure and they need time to figure out how to respond. Every thought that you have is an intention, okay? So basically, at the same time, you're saying you intend for him to be over his insecurities and for things to show up immediately. Those are blocking each other. Let's change your intention or in some assumption of why they're not messaging you back to begin with, okay? So it's not about, seeing that, creating and intending and, and labeling or assuming someone's behavior is malicious to you and then turning around and changing the meaning with an intention. They're going to block each other out. It's about completely changing the, the meaning that you're giving the situation to begin with. Now, the thing is, though, is if you do have a situation where, you've previously perceived the person's behavior as malicious to you or rejecting you in some way, every time you identify that and then you create the opposite intention, what'll happen is eventually you'll start to shift the situation. Okay, so, you're supposed to be changing your assumptions to begin with for the person. Like I said, if you don't want someone to reject you, then never accuse them of rejecting you. If you don't want someone to be insecure, then never label their behavior as being insecure. Okay, so take a look at the assumptions that you're creating to actually start changing your situation around. Okay, so 2 minutes and 48 seconds in. So 2 minutes and 48 seconds in, we are answering, I've got this 25s question. Okay, so I've got this 25 is, hi friend, I'm wondering if there's any words of negation such as not that the subconscious mind can't distinguish between word not. So when you say a statement, then, take a look and see what, image it conjures up for you in your mind. Okay. Not as far as I know, not's the only one, but again, you always want to state things in the positive. Okay. So you want to state what you actually want in as much detail as possible, because the more detail and the more you focus on what you want, the clearer your image is going to become. Okay. So, I mean, off the top of my head, not's the only one I would avoid. Any other ones? Well, yeah, I would avoid, creating things in the negative, I'm never late, I would go with, I'm always on time, but never late. You can still picture being on time with that statement. However, like I said, I would get used to just stating things in a positive. So not off the top of my head, I'm not sure if there's any other than not, but I know not's the big one. Okay. So we've got Selena's question next, and it's at 4 minutes and 15 seconds. For everybody just joining us here, we are answering subscribers' questions on the Patreon group. So we do it on the Patreon group because it is, so because they're all here and easy to read, and it's, a way to prioritize which ones we're going to be answering. So if you guys want to ask your questions, then definitely join the group and we'll go and answer them every week like we do. Okay, Sarah's question, not Sarah, sorry. Selena's question's next. So how do we remove conditions we placed on our manifestations? Okay, so basically what you would do, okay, so if you say, well, look at, I have to, get this promotion before I'm going to buy that new house. Well, then now you've just put the condition that you need to get a promotion, a clear picture in your mind. That's when that really comes into play, because, you know, thoughts are things, okay? And you've got to be able to, you know, account for all of the, you know, maybe the missing pieces or the unanswered questions or the what ifs, right? To actually start to shift your reality, because you are the creator of your reality. So I always say, like, if you've got like 500 reasons why something's not going to happen and you want it to happen, then I say, you know what, do 1,000 reasons of why it is going to happen. You know what I mean? Because what you want to do is you want to start shifting the story inside your mind. Okay. Is it okay? And by the way, Selena, normally it's only one question per week. But we will answer the rest of your questions here, okay? Is it okay to intend that throughout the day, my specific person gets reminded about me and always has loving thoughts about me, and I'm all that he can think of and wants? Sure. Will he get reminded about me throughout the day if you intend it? Yeah. Is it okay that my specific person feels incomplete without me and needs to feel whole with me? Sure. I mean, you know, of course, you know, you want to make sure that you, you know, if you want to create someone needy, then great, go ahead. It's your reality, right? You can create whatever you want, right? Your opinion that you have about people is how they're going to show up for you, because everyone's you pushed out, okay? So people are going to show up how you want them to show up, okay? And how you believe they're going to be, okay? To change the rejection story, do we just have to intend the opposite? Okay, well, I mean, you have to completely change the story and stop making their behavior mean that they're rejecting you, because like I said, you don't want anyone to reject you, then never say that they're rejecting you, okay? So it takes more than just changing, you know, the story on a whole. It takes your moments of, you know, like you text them, they don't text you back right away. That's it, they're rejecting me. Well, you can't assume that if you don't want them to reject you, okay? So you've got to take a look throughout your day-to-day thoughts with the person, and are you, you know, creating a story of rejection and living from the end of rejection, or are you creating a story of, you know, them wanting to be with you, and when you don't get a text message back in, you know, a few minutes from them, are we, you know, assuming that, you know what, they do want to talk to us and they're going to text us any minute now? Or are we, you know, living and harboring a rejection story, thinking they're ignoring us and ghosting us and never want to talk to us again, right? So what is meant by inner conversation? That would be your thoughts, the chatter that's in here. Is it the intentions and thoughts we have, or an imaginal conversation? It's all three. It's anything. It's that little voice you hear in your head. That's your inner conversation. Okay. So the next question we have here is at 9 minutes and 4 seconds. Thank you guys all for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I hope the video is useful to everybody. We've got Lily's question. Is there a way to use law of attraction to change your personality? Yes, there is. I've done it. I've done a video on it, actually, how to change what people think about you. So can you stop being shy and nervous? Absolutely. You would, you know, write down a list of traits that you want to be, and you would read them through. And, you know, and you could also visualize, you know, how you act when you're outgoing. You can also basically script out, you know, how you want to act, right? But changing your personality is going to take some mental self-talk, some inner conversation before you go out and do things. So if you're usually, you know, anxious before you go out to a party, then you're going to have some, you know, self-talk about, you know what, I'm going to be outgoing, people are going to love me, I'm going to have a great time, you know, whatever you want to actually create. Okay, so you'll have to talk yourself out of any sort of, you know, times when you would be shy and nervous in the moments. Okay. Sarah has a question. Yay. Hi, everybody. Oh, you guys are all amazing. Nice to see y'all. Okay, so 10 minutes and 31 seconds for Sarah's question. And let's take a look here. Do you have any suggestions for creating intentions for manifesting a relationship with a new specific person you haven't met? Mine in particular is famous, but I hope this can help others. Okay, so let's see. I only have one solid intention that I can think of that makes sense. I run into so-and-so all the time. I can say things like so-and-so is in love with me when I haven't met them yet. Yeah, you can say that, sure. What if someone I know I would say so and so texts me all the time and things like that, but a new person has no way of contacting you. Well, first of all, you're creating right there that they have no way of contacting you. So that's going to be a block. Um, because you're trying to tell the universe, like, hey, you know what? I want this person to like run into me. I want them to contact me. But then we're like, but they have no way to contact me. Okay, the universe is like, no problem. Okay, we won't have them contact you. There's no way. So you can create, like, I intend that the person loves me the minute they meet me. And, that statement should be more like, so they text me all the time and things like that. And a new person can always find me. This world is very connected. Okay, I'm on Facebook. You never know, a friend of a friend of a friend. Like, start creating possibilities, right? So there's probably some blocks going on here. What intentions would I suggest for you? Is I would suggest, writing out all of your doubts and your blocks and your thoughts, right? And when you do that, you want to change them into positive intentions. Okay. So the best intentions that you can do for your situation are going to be the ones that are opposite of your blocks that you have. Okay. So you need to sit down and sort which ones those out. I can't actually tell you which ones they are because other than that one, because I need to have a conversation with you to find that out because it's your thoughts that actually create your reality. So I need to get in your head and figure out what thoughts are in there. So one way to do that is to write everything down. And then when you write everything down, your complaints, change those into positive intentions, put those in your mental diet. That's how we find our blocks and that's how we change them. Okay. Other than that, our coaches are great. My coaches, they can listen to your story, point out your blocks and give you some great intentions. Okay. So Claudia's question is at 14 minutes and 11 seconds. 14:11. You guys are all amazing this Tuesday. So Claudia says, hey, Amanda, I just want to thank you for all of your guidance. I make it my mission to stick to my mental diet and always think, what would Amanda do? Oh, great. So some days you may not want to do that. I have my moments too. The rare time that my mind starts thinking wild thoughts, I cut it right then and there, and I start repeating how amazing I am and how I'm the god of my universe to block anything unwanted out. And of course, I stick to my intentions. Reflecting on my life before finding your channel reminds me of how I never want to allow myself to feel how I felt years ago, and how I'm not going to allow myself to fall into a hole ever again. Oh my goodness, Claudia, you're so welcome. Oh, that's so sweet. You know what? Claudia's totally right, guys. You create how you feel every day. Our thoughts create our emotions, right? And if we want to be free of guilt, loneliness, we've got to change our thoughts because our feelings are a manifestation of our thoughts. It's a physical manifestation. Our feelings are a manifestation of what we're thinking. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, right? And how far we can come. I've gotten over myself personally depression, anxiety, just with mental diet and law of attraction. I used to be shy and nervous, and I'm not anymore. I haven't been for years. So, I used to have stage fright. Now I love being on stage. I intend for him to call me and he doesn't, then I will just call him. So yesterday, I said, call me when you can. He didn't, which seems he is getting worse. Before LOA, I would wait for him to call, but now I just call and text him the next day. Update, he called me next day right after work, but I want better communication. Is me calling him preventing him from calling me? Or should I not care and just call him because it is what I would do if he was my boyfriend and just focus what I want, intend that he always drops everything to call me. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, you're putting a lot of you're really attached to him calling you. Basically, you're making him not calling you mean rejection. So that whole story needs to be broken down. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I mean, I live with Andrew and, it doesn't matter if he calls me or not, or I call him. All that matters is that, that we're together, like, I mean, do you know what I mean? So, you can get, I'm not saying you can't get him to call you first, drop everything, but you have to start seeing them as treating you like that in order for him to actually do it. Okay. So there's some story that needs to be broken down here because you're seeing him as not dropping everything for you. And then you're resisting it, trying to get him to change everything for you. But your story has to be, he always drops everything for me. He always calls me first. Of course he does. Right. So you calling him first isn't what's stopping him from calling you first. What's stopping him from calling you first is you resisting that he doesn't call you first. You're attached to the actual situation because it's emotional for you. You're making him not drop everything mean that he's something, rejection something, because it's a big deal to you, right? So it's because it's such a big deal, that's what's blocking it. So we want to make it to, no, my relationship's great. Well, you know what, it's a question here. So telling about more about me and Andrew. If you feel comfortable, no, I feel comfortable. I've done videos, guys. My earlier videos about a year ago was about Andrew. I called him Gerry. Some of them anyway, not all of them, but you know, some of them. So I think I did actually say it was Andrew in one of them, maybe not. Maybe you can do a video about it. And maybe in the future I will, but I will ask you one thing. You always said that you asked him out all the time. Did he ever shift? Yes, he did. Once I started thinking that he wanted to be with me. Okay. So, what did you do for him to shift? Well, I kept intending that he was going to. I kept focusing, saying he wants to be with me, right? Every time I would have the thought of rejection, I'd be like, no, the guy wants to be with me. And then I was like, oh, maybe he never even wants to live with me. And I'd be like, oh my God, he doesn't want to be like 90 years old, living alone with a bunch of cats and newspapers. Amanda, like, who wants to live alone? And I was, right. So, you know, I had the talk, right. You know, and I really, it was a fight. It was an internal fight, to be honest. How did you handle the stagnation? Well, you know what? I didn't sit back and say, okay, well, that's it, buddy. You know what? If you don't message me, I'm not talking to you. We're not hanging out. I would just keep acting normal. I would keep talking to him. I would keep reaching out. And, you know, I kept him in my life because me having an ego trip saying, look, buddy, I want to, you know, I want to marry you. If you don't want to marry me, I'm going to go live in that hotel over there until you change your mind. Okay, so that's coming from basically rejection, and he's never going to come running after me, right? So, you know, it's about, look at, you know what, do you want this with me? No. Okay, what's going on? Why not? Why don't you want it with me? What's the problem? And they'll tell you they're blocked. So this is the next part of your question. You know, did you ever have the talk with somebody, you know, with Andrew? Well, I'll tell you, I'll have the talk with anybody that I want to know what my block is. Okay. So let's say, for instance, me and Gerry are here and I want to marry Gerry. Okay. And Jerry's like, no, I don't want to get married. Okay. Well, so Gerry, why don't you want to get married? Like, what's going on here? You know, and he'll tell me, well, I don't want to get married because I've got baggage. I've had a bad relationship and I lost in the divorce big time. Oh, okay. So I've now projected, obviously I was projecting baggage on Gerry that, you know, he doesn't want to get married because he's had a bad experience. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know, Gerry. No problem. I get it. I understand. If I was in your situation, I probably wouldn't want to get married again. No problem, buddy. I love the way our relationship is. Accept it. And then start moving on. I intend for Gerry to get over his baggage. I intend for Gerry to see that I'm not his ex, you know, his ex teddy bear. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you only want to use, you know, the talk, but again, the talk's coming from they don't want to be with you, right? So if you were, you know, basically planning to marry somebody, you wouldn't have the talk of why they wouldn't want to marry you, right? So you want to already create the assumption that they do want to be with you and skip the whole talk thing because the talk pushes them away. 100% pushes them away. Can you use it strategically? Absolutely. Should you? Well, I mean, you know, it's easier just to say, forget it. I intend for them to want to be with me because that's where you should be anyway. Right. So, yeah, I hope that answers your guys' question. So let's see here. So 22 minutes and 26 seconds. So 22 minutes and 26 seconds is the next question. And it is Teen's question. Hey there. Hi. This came up elsewhere, but it was something that resonated with me. When trying to manifest a romantic specific person, a lot of coaches say set your intentions and then go work on yourself. Like go get busy, be happy, etc. So one woman was saying she already accomplished a lot already, liked herself, etc. She just also wanted a guy. And I thought, yeah, me too. I do have self-esteem, love issues, but I'm not presently looking, but I was a few years ago. I read the same advice, but I was already exercising, traveling, volunteering, learning, etc., all by myself. I had already accomplished stuff. I eloped, I went back to school, worked, had a career, kids, my own business, hobbies. I fell out of love with my husband decades ago. Now, the only thing like my life missing is romance. So I do admit that self love is and worth is a block for me. Um, mm. But what are we supposed to do while we're working on that aspect? I mean, I really don't have a lot I want to do in life. Hubby was a workaholic. I already did. And okay, so basically, okay, the whole thing with your question here, okay, is I don't say, you know what, set your intention and go work on yourself. I say that you're perfect. Okay. So I'm not sure, what all this is about going to work on yourself is. Okay. So how it comes, okay, when it goes to I personally, I wasn't working on myself when I manifested all my boyfriends. I was quite interested in having a relationship, and that was the only thing that I wanted at the time. So I would go out and meet people, date, and that was basically what my hobby was at the time, was going out and basically looking for somebody to manifest, right? Manifesting people, and seeing if I liked them, didn't like them, right? Um so basically, right, I mean, what we want to do here is, of course, okay, so when it comes to manifesting somebody, you've got three issues that are at play, three packages, basically. How you feel about yourself, okay, how you think the other person feels about you, and how you feel about relationships in general. Okay, so you have to work on all those three aspects. Okay, so I wouldn't even create a story that, oh, I need to work on me, before I can be with somebody. I mean, the story should just straight out of the gate be, look, at I'm good enough to be in a relationship, and I want to be in a relationship, and I'm going to be in one right now. In fact, that's what I'm manifesting. That's what's going to happen. Okay. The only time you create an intention and forget about it is if you have zero resistance. Okay. But if you can't, if you don't have zero resistance, you can't forget about it. So then, of course, you have to make your intentions and keep on it, right? So you've got to make sure that the last thought you have on any given subject is going to be, that good enough, and I deserve, and I will be in a relationship. Now, the thing is, though, right, is if you do have self-love issues, well, then you've got to work on your self-love story. Okay. So I don't say, well, look, you know what, make an intention that you're going to find someone to marry, then go start gardening. Okay. I don't create that. Like, it's good to have hobbies and distractions. Like, don't sit at home alone, being depressed and bored, and not, having a life. But I don't see this, create an intention and then go, work on yourself. I mean, if you're working on yourself, you're focusing on yourself. But if you want to be in a relationship, then you need to focus on finding somebody and manifesting somebody. Okay. Because you need to put energy and power into that, and to say, look, at, what, it's going to happen. And then you're like, oh, but I don't think I'm good enough. Oh, I need to lose 5 pounds. No, I'm perfect the way I am. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to come along and love me and want to marry me. Right. So, there is no, where your attention goes, energy flows. Okay. So if you want to find somebody, put energy there. Okay. And then start, the only amount of working on yourself that I think you need to do, is anyone needs to do, is the story of, I'm good enough to be in a relationship. A really common thing is, I want to lose 5 pounds before I get into a relationship with somebody. Well, if you want to do that, you're putting a condition on it, then you better lose that 5 pounds. Or you can say, no, you know what? It doesn't matter what weight I am. They're going to love me just the way I am, because I'm perfect. Okay. So, if anything, I would start changing the story about yourself to, I'm perfect and I love myself the way I am. And so does everybody else. Okay. And then start putting the focus on, who's the guy that, or the girl that's going to show up in your life. Okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with gardening, working on yourself, having a hobby. I mean, I play video games, I used to garden. What else? I used to do crafts, make jewelry. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But, I wouldn't, say you have to do that to find somebody. You know, I've, gotten together with lots of boyfriends that have turned into successful relationships when I haven't been doing anything, honestly, than either other than working and going to the pub on Friday nights. If I wasn't gardening or doing anything, special in my life, So it's your reality. You create what you want, right? So, yeah. Let's take a look here. So 28 minutes. 28 minutes, and this is XOXO's question. Love the username. Let's take a look here. Hi, Amanda. I love your videos. Thank you. I've been receiving more and more results with my ex little by little. We're not talking every day, but I manifested an apology. Excellent. His regrets and much more. Sometimes I get hot and cold behavior, but I'm working on it. I'm just waiting for it to express his love to me, and I can fully shift. I would start fully shifting now so he does express his love, but I get what you're saying, right? So we have to change before the other person changes because we're the only ones in our reality, right? So, um, so your question is here is basically you're torn, between going all in and taking it slow. What are your thoughts on playing hard to get? you know, I don't play games with people. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to give advice on your specific situation without knowing the whole entire situation. I mean, you can create, okay, you know what, I'm going to play hard to get, and that's going to make him want me. Well, then that's what's going to happen. So, it's what you create it to be. I mean, I'm a pretty blunt, straight up, authentic person. I mean, I go to like, like in a pub and I'll see a guy and I'll be like, I think he's cute. And I'll be like, can I buy you a drink? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's me. And I have no problem with that. Now, I mean, you can create that, you play hard to get and that drives them wild and that makes them want you even more, then that's what's going to happen. So it's all your thoughts behind what you're creating. I mean, where is that, playing hard to get coming from? Is that coming out of resentment or upsetness? Like, where is it coming from is the question. Apart from me, a part of me wants to fully trust in law of attraction. And then in the end, when I'm also having lingering feelings, he'll go back to his old way and I'll get hurt again. So, maybe there's some, rejection feeling going on there. We had a really bad breakup and a part of me feels like he doesn't deserve me. Okay. So, getting a little bit more of the picture here. So basically, um, so I have these occasional feelings that he's going to string me along or he'll just cheat on me. How can I eliminate these feelings? Okay. So, again, okay, so your thoughts create your feelings. So your thoughts create your emotions, okay? And what also creates your emotions and your feelings are past events that you've had in your lives, in your relationships. Okay, so this goes for everybody. If you had a relationship where you've had a breakup, you need to revise the breakup. You need to revise it in some way that you're okay with it and everybody gets forgiven. Because if you look at it this way, right, what is living from the end? Living from the end is basically saying, look, you know what? It's basically sitting down like 6 months from now and going, Amanda, I'll tell you the story. So, anyways, we were together. You know what? He cheated on me. We had this breakup, right? But then, you know what? We ended up getting back together, and I realized that he only cheated on me because maybe he had self-esteem issues or something. But then, you know what? He basically grew up, got over it, and realized how much he hurt me. He felt bad. I forgave him. We totally got over it, and now we're happily ever after. So that's what you want to start creating now. Is if you were living in the relationship that you want with him, all of those thoughts and feelings would be gone. Okay. And your thoughts create your emotions. Okay. So you've got to change your thoughts to change your emotions. Now, I'm not sure how specifically you would eliminate those feelings because I don't know what thoughts that you're having that are causing them. Okay. So we would need to sit down in a coaching session to basically, change your perception on parts of your situation to start shifting the story. So I don't know if it's good to play hard to get with him or not. I don't know where that's coming from. But as far as, how do you eliminate feelings of, basically untrust is you would use a mental diet of creating intentions and changing the story. But what it sounds like here is you need to do some revision of that breakup and your past history, and there's some forgiving that needs to happen to make that happen. Okay, so again, you know what, we do general law of attraction questions on these weekly questions and answers. It's very difficult for me to do coaching because I don't have all of the information. And guys, remember, it's your thoughts that create. Okay, so we need to get in your head and figure out what thoughts you're having that are creating your feelings of guilt, jealousy, untrust, worry, right? So anxiety, everybody's got different thoughts. Everybody creates things differently with their thoughts, but, so we can help you identify those thoughts and give you some good intentions to get past them. Okay. But that's the name of the game, identifying your blocks, right? And, you check in with your feelings, right? And you feel upset about something and you want to feel good about it, then there's a good indication there that the thoughts that you're having are blocking you from what you want. Okay. So those thoughts need to be identified and changed. Okay. Hi, Amanda. Hello, Danielle. This is Danielle's question next. I've been getting coaching and it's been very helpful. Awesome. I was just speaking about it, right? It is very helpful. Our coaches are amazing. And I realized that when I remembered something I did wrong in the past, it makes me question if I deserve to be with him or if I'm the best for him. Oh my goodness, right? How many times did that happen? Very common. Obviously, I've been changing that so I'm deserving of everything I want. I always get what I want, and I'm the best person for my specific person. I know that I'm not the person I was in the past, and that I was a great girlfriend before, and I am even a better girlfriend now. And I don't want my past to hold me back or define who I am. Exactly, exactly. You don't need it. All too often when somebody breaks up with us, that's the reason is we think that we've done something that's just completely unforgivable. And because everyone is us pushed out, the other person's like, I'm just never going to forgive you. Like I've even done it. I've been like, oh, I'm terrible. That actually just leads to depression, right? So people, we've got to, hold them in a higher regard and say, look, there's nothing that I could have done that's not forgivable. They're very forgiving. They are going to forgive me. And it's not really even about intending that they forgive you, which is important, but it's basically believing that what you did that is forgivable by somebody, by the person that you want, right? Forgiving yourself, really. Um, when I do past revision, I do it constantly to make myself feel better. I know technically we can't do anything wrong and we're perfect, so I've been intending that my specific person is forgiving and understanding. Could I also intend that my specific person thinks I'm the perfect partner for him and that I'm an even greater girlfriend now than I was before? Absolutely. You know what? I intend he understands what the problem was, and in fact he apologizes for it, and yeah, the whole works there. I've also been intending that we are back together and healthier and stronger than ever before, and that he falls more in love with himself when he's with me. Oh, nice. Should I focus more on self-love? Well, I mean, everybody, should focus on self-esteem and saying self-confidence and saying nice things to themselves, and creating the story that they're perfect and that there's absolutely nothing out there that they can do that would actually make anyone not like them, and they should. But it's also about focusing the story on the other person as well, right? So oh, I mean, there's three parts to this, right? So changing your story about the person and what the person thinks about you, okay? Because, if you say, well, I've done so and so, and Gerry's never going to forgive me because I cheated on him. Well, now that's okay. So I'm saying that I've done something really bad and I don't deserve it. And then I've also created the story that Gerry's never going to forgive me. So just saying, look, I'm good enough and I deserve to be forgiven isn't quite enough. You got to change the story about Gerry forgiving you as well. Okay. And then also, change your stories about relationships. I mean, maybe, relationships, the story should be that, people love each other unconditionally, and, loving someone unconditionally is forgiving them for things that they do. Right. So those three parts, changing the story about Gerry, working and saying the story about yourself, that you're perfect and you deserve, to have this, you are good enough to have it. And then also, what's the story about relationships? Or, do you have a healthy, understanding expectation about what your relationship is? Okay. What a romantic relationship is. Okay. So 37 minutes in, we have Tammy's question. Hello, Tammy. I hope you're okay and having a wonderful week. I am okay, and I am having a wonderful week, and I hope the same for you as well. So I've started recently seeing a very nice man. Nice. I love new relationships. They're great, right? And he has just gotten a job abroad in Cyprus. He says he's happy. But now that we're seeing each other, he's also a bit sad that he has to go. The job is for the next 3 years. He leaves in July. Now, I would like him to be able to manifest him staying in the UK. Yeah, you can do that. I feel guilt as this is an opportunity that he wants. Okay, so basically, I can't advise on how to manifest, okay, how you manifest the outcome as you want is you live from the end. Okay, so you have all of your thoughts from the end. Now, one thing you just brought up here is guilt. Okay, so you've got guilt and, basically intending what you want. Okay, so I mean, how do you not feel guilty is you change the story that's making you feel guilty, because again, your thoughts create your emotions. Okay, so if you have thoughts that are that are manifesting guilt, then those need to be changed, and that story needs to be changed, and your perception of the situation needs to be changed. Now, how does that need to change in order for that to happen? I'm not 100% sure, because like I said, it's your thoughts that create. I don't know what your specific thoughts are. So one thing that you can do is you can write down the whole entire story and all your thoughts that are making you feel guilty. Okay. And then you take those thoughts and then you change them over to positive intentions, and you start adding those into your mental diet. Okay. With him, can he say get reposted? Can he change his mind? I mean, maybe there's another opportunity that he actually wants that's in town where you live. I mean, the world is up to you. It's your reality. You can change this any way you want. So instead of focusing on what's not working, let's focus on possibilities that give you what you want. Now, you've got guilt of, intending and in creating what you want, then that story needs to be broken down. And, like one of my coaches can definitely help you with that. But you've got to get over the guilt about it, because the guilt is going to block, you getting the outcome that you want. Okay. So, um, he's got no free will in your reality, right? So, everyone is you pushed out. So, this one, I mean, it's hard to answer. I can't coach you on how to get past the guilty feeling or give you an action plan to make your outcome happen, okay? Because I need to sit down and chat about what your thoughts are, okay? So, like I said, write out that list of the thoughts that are making you feel guilty, and really seriously go through it, and ask yourself, is this true? Can it be another way? And start to find ways that things are going to work out for you. And like I said, if you're feeling guilty for, and manifesting and intending for something that you want that's going to make you happy, then there's a whole other story that we need to dive into there to sort through. Okay. And my coaches can definitely help you with that. So 40 minutes in, we've got Rachel's question. So, hey, Amanda, how to get back to the I can do it attitude when you're feeling like I know how to do this. I know my reality reflects everything back, so I want my mojo back. I'm feeling a bit down and unmotivated from isolation. Okay, so you know, this is just it. Is you start small. You create little tiny things. It's been some of the smallest things that I've ever, if I've ever created that have helped me get it back. So start creating small things that have zero resistance. Start getting on top of your thoughts, and start intending that you're going to get your mojo back, that you're going to see your intentions manifest. So, it's whenever you're working, like, I've said this many times on my channel, it's, when you're working on something big, what you want to do is you want to start manifesting tiny things with that you have zero resistance, because once you start seeing those work out, you get that instant like feeling like, yeah, okay, I got this. And then you can tackle the bigger things. Like you guys heard me say this a million times, okay? I manifested fried chicken when I thought it was impossible. And guess what? That helped me get over my money block, because I was like, seriously, if I can do that, well then honestly, this is nothing, So you want to just keep practice it every day. It's not something like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to intentionally manifest my SP and then I'm just going to check out for the rest of my day. Sure, you can do that, but guess what? Even when you're checked out, not focusing your thoughts, you're still manifesting. In fact, there's been times where I've manifested something I didn't want, and I remember having the thought and creating it, and I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, at least this isn't broken. Like it still works. So, it's about taking everything and seeing that you've actually created it. Okay. So yeah, start doing those little lists daily. Stay on your thoughts as you go. Okay. Let's take a look here. So 43 minutes. We've got Pat's question. Hello, Pat. How to cope with a specific person which is really religious and freaks out with his theories about God and hell. And let me doubt, scare about LOA. Okay. Should I go for another SP which be more compatible, or can I change this crazy set of mind? I would really like to connect with him, but I don't see how our mindsets are different. Okay. So I mean, great that he does see the everyone's you push out. So you can intend that he sees that LOA and spirituality are the same. You can intend that he starts to believe in LOA. You can intend that, he's very open-minded, easygoing. So you can change him. Now, whether you should change him or walk away, you can do either one. It's your reality. I mean, I've got lots of people out there that I've walked away from. Like, oh, well, like it happens. Like, no big deal. It's your reality. You choose who you want to have in it. So it's up to you. You can either, recreate him, or you can walk away. Either one's okay. It's your reality and you deserve to be happy. And you create exactly what you want in your reality. So both are possible. Rose's question at 44 minutes. So Rose's question. So I have one more question that's general, and I've had at the general, I've had a hard time verbalizing, but I saw one of your videos where you were collaborating with another YouTuber, and I think I know how to ask my question now. In your collaboration, create the best for everybody. No, I didn't say you always have to. I said it's in your best interest to, because if you don't, then guess what? You're going to have to put up with it. It's going to come back to you, right? So, it's your choice, actually, if you want to. You don't have to. I really don't understand what you mean by this. There is no meaning. Everything's empty and meaningless. Okay. So, I mean, if I say that Gerry, is untrustworthy, then Gerry's going to do things that are going to show up as untrustworthy. So if I'm in a relationship and I say that Gerry's an untrustworthy, cheating teddy bear, then he's going to go out and cheat on me. So, right there, if I'm not creating the best for him, I got to put up with it. What about, if I'm like friends with Gerry and I say, oh, that's it, Gerry's always so broke, always so broke. Now, Gerry's my friend. He's always going to be broke. He's like, oh, can I have some money? Can I have some money? Can you pay for me? So, I mean, you can create whatever you want with people. I mean, you don't have to create that everything works out for them and create the best for them. No, you don't. You can create whatever you want, but it'll come back for you to realize and manifest in your reality, right? So, you want to keep that in mind when you're creating, right? So anyways, I mean, that's all that, so it looks like here you ask about being selfish. So again, if you've got, thoughts that, going for what you want is selfish, then, that's going to be a conversation, to have with somebody to sit down to change your perception on the situation. I mean, I personally think I can have anything I want in the world. I don't see myself as selfish for it. Selfish is basically saying that there's not enough for everybody. Like if I didn't intend to be a billionaire, what nobody else can? No, that's not true. There's an abundance. Every single other person out there can be a billionaire. So why would anything be selfish when everybody can have everything that they want? Okay, we can all be happy. We can all be billionaires. We could all have boats. We can all be on a yacht. We can all be famous if we want. We all can be everything. So there's, no reason to ever call anything selfish. Selfish comes from lack and not abundance, right? So, anyways, what else do we have here? So, you know, basically, right, basically feeling like, intending what you want is, comes from somewhere, selfish. But you know what, guys? Like I said, you choose how you're going to feel and you choose what the thoughts that you have. Okay. And, if you think that, intending that you're happy and having what you want makes you selfish, then, there's some story there that you need to go through. If, going out and intending what you want makes you feel guilty, then there's some story that you need to sort out there. It's funny, way back, right? So when I first started my business, there was this person that, I wanted to work for me to help and I felt bad for them. I wanted to help them out. Okay. So, but the problem was, right, is they just weren't pulling their weight. Like, I know I totally created that story, but the thing was, right, is I was like, oh, you know what? Oh, I don't want to get rid of them. Even though they're not very good, they're not helping anything, but oh, I feel bad for them. This is a good opportunity for them. I don't. And then finally I was like, oh, I feel bad. I feel guilty. I feel like I should, keep them regardless. And I was like, no, you know what? That's because I'm basically saying that I'm holding them in a very small light. But as soon as I was like, no, this person can do anything they want on their own. They can find another opportunity. They them in a better light. And I didn't feel upset about letting them go anymore. Okay. So, it depends on the story that you're creating. But again, it's a story, right? It's a story. So if there was only $1 million in the world, 1 million, that's it. And I was intending to be a billionaire. Yeah, I might feel a little bit selfish, but that's not true. Everybody can be a billionaire. So whatever story is going on there, Rose, for you feeling selfish, you probably need to talk it out with somebody and change your perception on the situation. Okay. But everyone is you pushed out. So, you can create the best or the worst for people in your reality. It's completely up to you. Okay. So what's the next question? Amrani's question here. Okay. So Amrani's question is 48 minutes. Okay. Let's take a look. So I have an understanding about how my reality works. I have the opinion that everything in my reality is projected out from my subconscious mind. Yep. It feels like it feels like everything in my mind, in my reality, is projection from my inner world. It is actually. It's based in quantum physics, science as well. Yeah. I change my appearance, I change how people think, and I recreate my as my specific person numerous times. Excellent. Nothing seems any more real to me. Like I'm the only person in my reality, and everything out there, um, there to prove me my beliefs like they are serving me. Okay. It feels like I will know if someone else has a reality from my point of view. Like I'm always in contact with myself, and I'm the only one that's really solid and hears my subconscious mind. I mean, it overhears me like a friend. Like my thoughts are the only thing that's real, and that my objective reality does not exist. It feels like I'm in a dream or a simulation playing The Sims, controlling my body and other bodies too. Yeah, that's how I look at it. So if we are here to experience what we want to experience, yeah, if we are here to experience what we want to experience and to create. I don't know. Somehow I feel alone. Can you tell me how you see this and how I can let go of this lonely feeling? Well, thoughts are causing you to feel alone. That's something that, again, we would need to sit down and have a chat about. So somewhere you're making some of this mean that you are alone. Now, where exactly is it? I'm not sure. Because I read this and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of love the fact that, I'm in my own reality and I'm able to control it. Now, do I create people around me? Absolutely. Like I'm never really alone. Like I've got people around me all the time. And this is the way life's always been. So, and I can't change it anyway. So I'm not quite sure, where the thoughts are coming that are making you feel alone. What I would suggest is sit down and write down the thoughts that make you feel alone. Like, where are the thoughts that make you feel alone? And then let's change our perception on them, change them into positive intentions, question them. Like, is it really that you are alone? Right. So, yeah, I honestly, we would need to have a conversation with you to get to the bottom of what thoughts are creating this lonely feeling in you. Okay. So, yeah, let's take a look here. So, yeah, let's take a look here. So 53 minutes in, we've got Stephanie's question. Stephanie. Hello. Okay. So, what if you're ticked off at a person for their behavior, even though you know you created it? Okay. For example, the person you're upset with states, "You seem ticked off. Are you upset with me?" But you choose not to be reactive, and you try to ignore the action because you created it. However, you're ticked off at your ticked off feelings are still there, but you reply, "No, I'm not upset with you at all." Okay, so, what are you making their behavior mean that ticked you off? That's the whole question, right? So, you obviously made their behavior mean that they've done something and wronged you in some way. Okay. I mean, you can create that if you want, right? You're making an assumption, right? So, does non reacting in LOA mean you never voice your opinion? Well, no, you not reacting in LOA is giving the person the benefit of the doubt. It's not even about LOA. It's just about, look at, you know what, Gerry's late. Okay. So I can either sit here and say, okay, that's it. Gerry doesn't respect me or my time and get mad at him. Or I can say, okay, Gerry's late. He just lost track of time. It's no big deal. Like it's your choice of what assumptions and label and you give the person's behavior. It's like, I told this story. I'm not sure if you guys heard. I don't know if it was last week or if I told it to somebody else, or on a video, but basically, right? Like I used to have a friend that if you interrupted them, they would get mad and say that you were disrespecting them. But I mean, really, was I? No, I was just really excited. I was just really wanted to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt them. I just did, and so they were getting upset because they made it mean that I was disrespecting them. So again, what are you making their behavior mean to upset you to begin with? But it's fine to be mad at somebody. If you want to create that Gerry is disrespectful to you and then be mad at him for it, that's up to you. Like you can react to it all you want, right? There's no problem there. But if you don't want Gerry to be disrespectful to you, then never make reacting in LOA mean you can never voice your opinion to the other when they engage in behavior you do not agree with, simply because you're living from the end of their behavior already being changed. Well, it depends on the circumstance. I'll tell people when I'm not happy with their behavior, right? Be like, hey, I'm not happy with your behavior. What's going on? Why is this showing up, right? Just because you created it doesn't mean, you can't question it or say, hey, talk it out with the person. Why not? LOA is no different than how relationships were before. It's just now you're taking the responsibility for how you feel, and you're taking the responsibility for how other people show up. I've had disagreements, and I've sat down, knowing law of attraction, been like, hey, you know what? I've got this problem. What's going on? Why not talk it out? So simply put, if you're changing someone and your feelings get hurt along the way, are you allowed to let that person know your feelings are hurt? Sure, why not? Now, you may push them away. They may not be happy with it. I can't give you advice on your specific situation because I don't know the situation. Okay. So, or is it best to realize that you're the only person and you're annoyed with yourself since everyone is you pushed out? And respond with, no, I'm not angry, annoyed, and mad, all is well. I mean, yes and no. It really depends on the situation. Like it really does. There is no clear cut answer. I know you're probably looking for how to navigate a personal situation of yours, and it really just depends on what the thoughts are, what happened, what's the reaction, where is this coming from, it really, really, really depends. I mean, but living from the end, it can be, talking out a disagreement, maybe it's best not to say anything. I don't know. It depends in these scenarios on, the specific, details of the situation. I mean, for instance, like I said, okay, so let's say Gerry, doesn't call me back and he said he would, okay, and I was waiting for his phone call. Okay, so should I ignore that, or should I, say, well, okay, you're wasting my time, buddy. I mean, your assumption, maybe the assumption needs to be changed to begin with, right? Sometimes talking it out with somebody, actually will help you to change your perspective because they'll be like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. But you have to remember that what the bottom line is you're feeling hurt because you're choosing to feel hurt. The other person can't hurt you. Their behavior, they did something, and you're choosing to make that behavior mean and something that's making you feel hurt. Okay, so remember that part of it. But in your specific situation, I don't know what you should do without sitting down and chatting with you. So, it's not about sitting there and taking it. But then again, it's not about confronting and pushing someone away, right? So being there, is completely up to you, right? If you are supposed to act as if you're not annoyed, then what's the best action? Not talk to the person to get the feeling of, frustration under control. Okay. So again, I mean, what's the thing that, that making their behavior mean something that's frustrated and annoyed you? Like, what's going on? It's hard to tell. Sometimes I would say, yeah, you know what, talk to them, find out what's going on. Or other times I would say, no, you know what, change your assumption. Maybe they didn't do that. And they didn't mean to hurt you. Maybe they did it innocently. So what needs to change in the situation? I'm not sure. Okay. We need to sit down and chat about that. Okay. So we've got Legendary's question at 58 minutes. So, hello, Amanda. I'm working on manifesting my specific person, and before I focus more on her, I want to recreate her parents, her mom, especially because she's very religious and won't let us sleep together in a room because of that. Okay. I know that if I don't recreate her at the old issues with that problem will appear again. I don't want that. Okay. So, yeah. So your intentions of making, to create that the mom's okay with it is you do need to change the story about her parents. And the best intentions that you can do for that situation is to make a list of all your complaints of what the story is right now. Okay. And then take that list and change it into positive intentions. Okay. I mean, it should just be enough. It could just be enough to say, well, I intend that her mom, lets us, sleep together because we're in a committed relationship. But that may not be enough if you've got other stories. Okay. So you've got to go through all of those stories that you've got that's supporting her mom being the way that she is. And you have to completely alter and shift that. Okay. So it's going to take writing out those thoughts. The best intentions that you can create for this situation are the intentions that are exact opposite of what your blocks are. Okay. So because thoughts are things, okay? So let's say, for instance, I want to go out for dinner tonight, okay? Which isn't going to happen, but okay. And I want to go just say, I don't know, the keg, okay? But the keg, I say to you, okay, look at it, it's always busy. You can never get a seat, and there's never any parking. But then I'm like, you know what? No, I intend to get a parking spot. Well, guess what? Now that I've said I intend to get a parking spot, I'll go there. I'll get a parking spot, but guess what? The restaurant's still going to be packed because thoughts are things. And remember, I said the restaurant's always packed. You can never get a seat. And then the parking lot's always full. But then I said, no, I intend for the parking lot to be empty. Universe was like, check, empty universe, full restaurant. That's the way it works. Okay. So, that's why you want to create that list of, your complaints. Okay. Get this old story out and change it into the new story. Get every bit of it. Okay. Because the more bits of it you get, the more you're going to shift the balance and the new story is going to start showing up. Okay. So that's why we say that we do need to sit down and talk with you to find your blocks, to create you intentions, because your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts can either make something happen for you or block it for you. Okay. So right now, you know what? I'm like, I want to be with Gerry. Let's say that's my goal. That's my end result. I want to be with Gerry. And then all of a sudden I'm like, but Gerry's probably upset at me for what I said last night. Boom, blocked it because now Gerry's upset at me. Right? But then I'm like, no, Gerry's a forgiving and understanding guy. Teddy bear, he's totally over it. Great, unblocked it again. But Gerry was eyeing that other teddy bear. Oh, blocked it again. Like, do you know what I mean? Our thoughts block, unblock, block, block. Like, it's our thoughts that create what our reality is. And that's how we get partial manifestations, right? Is by creating an intention or two, but not rooting out the entire story. Okay. So just like, watering your intentions are like watering your plant. Okay. You've still got to get the root of the weeds out as well. Okay. And that's all the negative story that's surrounding something, because that's where partial manifestations come. You've got part of the old story, part of the new story. So part of the new story gets through, part of the old story gets through, and you get a partial manifestation. For example of that would be, let's say, well, I intend for, Gerry to propose to me. But all of a sudden, okay, Gerry doesn't propose to me, but I see his name everywhere. But then all of a sudden, all my friends are getting married. Okay, what does that tell me? On Gerry, but I've got a block, and my block is that I don't think he wants to marry me. Okay, so that's how we start to, I think I better change the story about how Gerry feels about me. And then I start changing the story about how Gerry feels about me. But then all of a sudden, Gerry starts talking about marriage, but he never actually asked me. Okay, now what? That's right. I've got a story that I don't think I'm good enough. Then I need to lose 5 pounds. Okay, no, I'm perfect the way I am. I'm good enough. Okay, make the intention again, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, Gerry starts talking about marriage and maybe will ask me. Okay, so do you see how we take our feedback from our reality? So get the roots of your stories, okay? Dig in there, find out what it is, okay? Because those are going to be the most powerful intentions that you could possibly create. And they're the ones that are opposite of what your actual, blocks are and your negative story is. Okay, guys? You guys are amazing every single minute, and an hour and 3 minutes. That's amazing. You guys, thank you, Living Wellness. You're amazing. I want to manifest a life of ease, luxury, freedom to travel anytime, anywhere, and fame of some caliber for my boyfriend and husband a husband out of my boyfriend. I thought you wanted a boyfriend and a husband. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I can't seem to get there. Well, so, start focusing, you guys, focus on what you want, right? Seriously, take that, take your complaints and change them into your positive intentions, right? Create until you actually create, what you actually want involved in this. And Gerry's like, hello, it's been so long. So let's say, for instance, I have this story that Gerry doesn't like me. Okay. Now, if I don't want to be in a relationship with Gerry or talk to him, it doesn't matter if he doesn't like me. It doesn't change anything in my reality. Okay. So if my intention is, to Andrew to propose to me and me saying Gerry doesn't like me, it doesn't matter because nothing to do with Gerry. Now, if I decide to say, well, look I want to marry Gerry, now all of a sudden Gerry not liking me is going to be a block. So your blocks are only blocks in relation to what you actually want, right? So we want to take a look at stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. What else do we got, guys? You guys are all amazing. If you want to, if you really to be said for self-love, but basically everyone should have the story that they're perfect and that, everyone loves them unconditionally and everybody wants to help them in their life, right? So, it's about being confident and having, self-esteem with yourself, right? Person wanting to be with you, or the item or thing. And then also, just generally, say with relationships, what is your, relation to relationship, right? So, you know, it really comes down to those three bits, right? But I mean, I definitely don't make self love a big deal because, the thing is, right, is if you guys all have the story that I'm good enough and I'm perfect and I always get what I want, well, then you've pretty much covered self love right there. Where a lot of things and a lot of blocks are, what we see anyway, is mostly with the other person. The story of they don't like me, they're never going to forgive me, right? So that the other person isn't going to forgive you. So there's two things going involved there. And then also creating the opinion, assuming or presupposing that the opinion about relationships is that people in relationships, it's not unconditional love and that they don't forgive each other, right? So it all comes down to those three things. They're all just as important as the other, you know but you know what, you don't have to love yourself to have someone else love you. People create all the time, that they don't love themselves but their mom loves them, right? So, you don't have to. But, at the same time, if you're creating that you're not good enough and that you can't have what you want, then that's probably going to block it. So, our thoughts are complicated. We're intricate beings, right? So, it can be looked at from really any point of view. Anyways, guys, you know what? Thank you so much. You guys are all amazing. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for joining us today. Okay. Bye bye.